How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video we're going to be covering the best Pokemon you can power up in Pokemon GO in 2023. Now, to be clear, this list is focused on the best attackers for the raid/gym meta, with the exclusion of Shadow Pokemon, as those are going to be covered in a separate video. And while these Pokemon will be the best in the game, they may not be the most accessible. So if you're looking for a more budget-friendly list of Pokemon to power up, then I highly recommend watching the video I published a few months ago. Link is going to be in the description down below. Now finally, we're also going to be including Mega Pokemon in this video, as many of the top picks are going to fall within this category. Now for those of you that are unfamiliar, these Pokemon require Mega Energy from raids initially to Mega Evolve, but after Mega Evolving for the first time, the cost to Mega Evolve is reduced by 80%, you gain the ability to earn Mega Energy from walking with that Pokemon as your buddy, and you get a cooldown period between your next free Mega Evolution. This starts at 7 days and progressively goes down to 3 days as you continue to level up your Mega Pokemon. So in total, there are going to be 3 levels of Mega Evolution, with Mega Level 3 being the final stage. This will take about 30 days to actually reach. Now once you make it to Mega Level 3, you're going to get amazing candy and extra large candy bonuses when catching Pokemon, which is going to help you accumulate these resources significantly faster. Now with all that being said, I do want to establish a baseline for these Pokemon I'm about to recommend, and that is going to be level 30, which is 90% of a Pokemon's maximum potential up to level 40. Anything past level 40 I consider to be over-leveling. Level 30 is also around the time when your Stardust and candy cost increases, but the CP only increases by half when you power up a Pokemon. Keeping potential power creeps in mind, this is actually a pretty good starting place for most of your Pokemon, although given the extensive research I did for this year's video, I will be providing some level 50 recommendations when applicable. Now some of you might be wondering though, well, what are Pokemon levels and how can you tell what level is a Pokemon? To keep it simple, you can tell by the Stardust required to power up your Pokemon. For example, Pokemon hatched and caught from raids are going to be at level 20, requiring 2500 Stardust to power them up. If that raid Pokemon was weather boosted, you will catch it at level 25, which is 4000 Stardust to power it up. Level 30 requires 5000 Stardust to power it up, and if you are a high enough level in the game, you can catch all the way up to level 35 Pokemon in the wild when they are weather boosted, which is going to be 8000 Stardust. So hopefully that does make sense. Either way, those are going to be the basics I feel you guys need to know for this video. As always, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to comment them down below. But now, I think it's time to get into the featured Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Fire-type Pokemon first, and the top 2 Fire-type attackers you should power up in the game are going to be Mega Charizard Y and Mega Blaziken. The reason I actually ranked both of these Megas on the top of the list is because their ER rating is so close together that is honestly not that much of a difference. So for both of them, you are going to need Fire Spin and the exclusive Comday moveset Blast Burn. So if you don't have Blast Burn on either of these Pokemon, it's not going to be as good. Overheat does pretty good on Charizard still, even in its Mega form, and you could say the same for Blaze Kick on Blaziken. So worst case scenario, if you don't have the Elite Charge TMs to get Blast Burn on either of these Pokemon, you can still run Overheat on Charizard and you can still run Blaze Kick on Blaziken, and they're still both going to kick ass. Now, with that being said though, I do want to also go over Blaziken and Charizard in their non-Mega form at level 50. So if we actually take a look at Blaziken and Charizard, they both perform as well as a Shadow Typhlosion at level 40, and that's going to be above a level 40 Darmanitan, guys. So level 50 Blaziken and level 50 Charizard, even if you don't have them Mega Evolved, you can still run them as incredibly good Fire-type attackers in the game. Anyways, that was kind of long-winded, but moving on over to our other best Fire-type attacker in the game, this one's going to be a non-Mega Evolution, and that is going to be Reshiram with Fire Fang and the exclusive move, the signature move for Reshiram, Fusion Flare. Now if you weren't able to get Reshiram with Fusion Flare, Overheat's still not going to be a bad option. It's still one of the best Fire-type attackers you can have in the game. Now when it comes down to Reshiram, if you were able to get a 98% IV, like 15 attack, or 100% IV, then I would consider powering this one up to level 50. It also gets dual functionality in the Master League, so if you want to run it there, you also have that option as well. Fusion Flare is also, I think, one of the moves you do want to have for the Master League, so make sure that if you are going to power up one, you at least have the Elite Charge TM to get Fusion Flare on your hundo, or you got it from the raid battles previously last month. So coming in at the #1 spot for Grass-type Pokemon, we are going to have Mega Sceptile with Bullet Seed and the exclusive Comday moveset Frenzy Plant. This Pokemon is so much better than anything else out there. You know, you only had the chance to get Mega Sceptile last December, but it's also going to be coming back into the raid battles most likely, during the Hoenn Tour. So you're gonna have another opportunity to get Mega Energy for this Pokemon. I seriously cannot recommend this Pokemon enough. Even if you don't have Frenzy planned, Leaf Blade is still gonna do a significant amount of damage in the Mega form. So yeah, Mega Sceptile all around, make sure you get your hands on this. If you ended up building a Mega Venusaur like I did in the past, you can still use Mega Venusaur for the time being if you don't have a Mega Sceptile, but you know, Mega Sceptile should absolutely be the priority and eventually getting that Pokemon to level 50. And then just to add on a little bit more for Sceptile in its non-Mega form with the level 50 considerations, level 50 Sceptile is going to be better than a level 40 Roserade, level 40 Chestnut, and a level 40 Tapu Bulu. So once again, just another massive win for Mega Sceptile all around. The dual functionality is seriously an awesome aspect that I really enjoyed looking at this year. Now when it comes down to the non-Mega forms for the Grass type attackers, the number one Grass type is going to be Kartana, the Ultra Beast with Razor Leaf and Leaf Blade. No exclusive movesets here, but if you weren't able to get it in raids, you're gonna have to wait before you can. Or you can find someone to trade with, that also works just as well. Now to put into perspective how good Kartana actually is, a level 30 Kartana is gonna be better than a level 40 Roserade, Tangrowth, Chestnut, Tapu Bulu, and slightly worse than a level 40 Shadow Venusaur. Now for those of you guys who have watched my videos for the past few years, you know that we've spent some time talking about Shadow Tangrowth, Torterra, and Shadow Venusaur. And the fact that a level 30 Kartana is better than a level 40 version of those Pokemon is crazy. So yeah, when it comes down to the Grass type attackers, Mega Sceptile is going to be your Mega option, and Kartana is going to be your best option outside of that. You can also go ahead and power up Zarude as well. This is a mythical Pokemon that you can only get one of in Pokemon GO if you were playing during that time period. You should have the quest if you haven't completed it. I have a video going over that if you guys want to check it out. I'll leave that link below. Either way though, when it comes into Zarude, you're going to want to have Vine Whip and Power Whip. This Pokemon is really good as well. This used to be the top Grass type attacker in the game, non-Mega. And again, you know, I'd recommend just powering this thing up to level 30. It's going to be just as good. Actually, it's going to be better than a level 40 Tapu Bulu. Now to complete the trio of starter types, let's talk about water type Pokemon next. So the number one water type attacker in the game, you know, probably no surprise here, Mega Swampert with Water Gun and the exclusive Calm Day moveset, Hydro Cannon. Absolute beast. It is going to be better than Primal Kyogre, currently with Surf. When Primal Kyogre comes out with Origin Pulse, which is going to happen in the next few weeks, that is going to be better than Mega Swampert, but as of right now, as of time I'm making this video, Mega Swampert is currently the number one, but keep in mind, Primal Kyogre is going to take that number one spot very, very soon. Now, unfortunately for this Pokemon, if you don't end up having Hydro Cannon on it, it's significantly worse. Like, unlike the other two options where I said that, you know, you could still run Blaze Kick on Blaziken, or you could run Leaf Blade on Sceptile, running Surf on Swampert is just so much worse compared to Hydro Cannon. So, you know, if I had to pick out of the three which one you want to prioritize giving the Elite Charge TM, if you have a hundo or something like that, Mega Swampert for sure. That's absolutely going to be my top recommendation. Now when it comes down to Swampert in its non-Mega form, how good is it at level 50? Well, it's pretty dang good, guys. So it's going to be as good as a level 35 Shadow Swampert. And level 30 Shadow Swampert is one of the best water type attackers in the game, period. So yeah, Swampert is going to hold up even in its non-Mega form, not to mention Master League relevance as well, so you're really getting a lot of benefit out of this Pokemon. Now of course, I do want to spend some time talking about Kyogre, as that's going to be our other really good water type attacker in the game, the best of the best, and of course we do have the future Primal Kyogre coming out with the signature move Origin Pulse, which is going to pretty much blow Swampert out of the water. So in my opinion, these are two of the best Pokemon you guys can power up in the game. Not only are we going to get dual functionality in Master League, also for Kyogre as well, you're also going to be able to run them in their non-Mega forms at level 50, and they're still both going to kick ass. So yeah, Swampert, Kyogre, definitely recommend it. Now, unfortunately though, water-type Pokemon are weak to electric-type Pokemon, so let's talk about those next. Our top picks are going to be a little bit different this time around, as the Mega form is not going to be the best Pokemon in the game, but I'm still going to go over this one first. So Mega Manectric is actually worse than the other two picks we're going to talk about, but keeping in mind that you also give your surrounding players a boost to their electric-type Pokemon having the Mega active, it's definitely worth having this in your arsenal too. So for Mega Manectric, you want to run Thunder Fang and Wild Charge. That is going to be the optimal moveset. So Manectric is basically the one I recommend having when it comes down to the Mega. Mega Ampharos is also an available option, but it's about 4 points lower than Mega Manectric, so really don't recommend that there. Now unfortunately though, unlike some of the other Pokemon that we've mentioned, a level 50 Manectric just by itself non-mega, is not going to be worth using as an electric type attacker. You just have way too many better options out there, and yeah, it's just really not worth using outside of the Mega Evolution. Now with that being said, hopefully I have piqued your curiosity, as the next two Pokemon are going to be better than Mega Manectric. So the second best option you can use as an electric type attacker, and I would just say arguably it's the same as the first best. They're almost exactly identical when it comes down to their ERA rating, but we're going to go over number 2 as it's slightly worse, and that's going to be Zekrom with Charge Beam and the exclusive signature move, Fusion Bolt. Now if you weren't able to get Fusion Bolt, Wild Charge is going to be the next best moveset you can run on Zekrom. It's still going to be pretty good, but without Fusion Bolt, it definitely does hold up in the number 2 spot, because the number 1 Pokemon that you can power up in this category is going to be the Ultra Beast Xurkitree with Thunder Shock and Discharge. It doesn't even have that great of a moveset, but its stats are so amazing. Like seriously, the fact that this Pokemon can hold the number 1 spot with Discharge is incredible. Now when it comes down to comparing it to Zekrom, like I said, with Fusion Bolt, they're basically identical. Like Xurkitree is just slightly better, and yeah, it's really a small difference. Now when it comes down to powering up these Pokemon, for Xurkitree, I probably wouldn't recommend doing anything over level 30, but for Zekrom, you also get dual functionality in the Master League, so for this one, I would actually recommend getting this one up to level 50 if you ended up getting the hundo. Now let's take a look at a very unpopular typing, but also a very useful typing in certain scenarios. That is going to be Poison type Pokemon. So when it comes down to the best one, Mega Beedrill is still going to hold the number 1 spot with Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb. Next up is going to be Nihilego with Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb, same moveset. But this Pokemon is going to be significantly better than the next option, which would be Roserade. So simply put, I'm not going to include Roserade on this list because it just doesn't even come close to being a worthy Pokemon to power up for this specific typing. Nihilego at level 30 is about 1.5 points higher than Roserade at level 40. Yeah, it's that much better. So you could power up a Nihilego to level 30 and get the same result, actually a better result, than a level 40 Roserade as a Poison type attacker. Pretty crazy, right? Next up, let's talk about our Flying type attackers. So Mega Pidgeot is going to be the best option when it comes down to this category. You do have Shadow variants, but again, we'll talk about that in a separate video. Now, unfortunately for Mega Pidgeot, you're gonna wanna have either Wing Attack or Gust as the fast move. But the catch is that both of these moves are actually legacy, so you're gonna have to use an elite fast TM. Now keeping that in mind, most people do go through their elite charge TMs faster than their elite fast TMs. So, you know, when it comes down to Mega Pidgeot, hopefully you have one for it. I personally think it's really worth it. You can also use Pidgeot as a non-Mega in the Ultra League because it does not hit above 2500 CP. It's not like super great to use, I won't deny that, but it's definitely a viable option if you do pair it together with a good team. Not to mention, Flying type attackers got a huge buff this past season, so maybe it's actually better now in the Ultra League, I don't know. Either way, I didn't even think it was that bad in the first place with Feather Dance. But yeah, the biggest downside is that you have to invest in Elite Fast TM to get that legacy moveset, and whether you want Gust or Wing Attack, it's totally up to you. Both of them are kind of similar in terms of the damage output. Gust is going to be a little bit better though. Now outside of Megas, we definitely have a lot of Shadow Pokemon options available, but the next best non-Shadow option is going to be Moltres with Wing Attack and the exclusive moveset Sky Attack. Now a little bit of Pokemon history here. Wing Attack wasn't always a move available for Moltres, but when this got released, pairing it with Sky Attack made it one of the best, actually the best non-Mega, non-Shadow Flying type attacker in the game. Now when we talk about Shadow Moltres in the other video, yeah, I'm just gonna say spoilers here, but it's gonna be the best Flying type attacker in the game with the same moveset. It's just unbeatable. Like Shadow Moltres, when it comes down to Shadow Legendaries, is one of my top picks, but again, we'll talk about that further in the other video. For this video, Mega Pidgeot and regular Moltres with the exclusive moveset Sky Attack are going to be the top recommendations. Again, if you guys don't have either of these, that's fine. I do have a budget list which goes over some other Flying type options. Once again, check out that video, link in the description down below. So Flying types out of the way, let's go to move on over to Ghost type attackers. So we have two options here, the Mega and the non-Mega. The Mega, without a doubt, is of course going to be Mega Gengar, reigning supreme once again in this category. You cannot beat it, guys. Seriously, you really can't. And when it comes down to Gengar in its non-Mega form at level 50, it's also an incredible Ghost type attacker, so dual functionality once again. Some of the Pokemon I mentioned earlier, like Mega Pidgeot and Mega Beedrill, in their level 50 forms non-Mega, they're still pretty bad, so I don't really recommend using them in that regard, but in their Mega forms, they're still great. Of course, though, with all that being said, the best moveset for Gengar is going to be Lick, which is an exclusive fast move and Shadow Ball. Now here's the thing though, like you don't really need to use an Elite Fast TM to get Lick because Shadow Claw is just slightly worse, and in my opinion it's free, so yeah, really don't recommend using an Elite Fast TM to get Lick. It's not going to change your life, just trust me on that. Mega Bayonet is going to be the next best option, but it's like 7 points lower, so yeah, don't recommend this whatsoever. And in terms of the non-Mega, we have Giratina in its origin form, which got its signature move last year, Shadow Force. So paired Shadow Claw and Shadow Force as the moveset, this is the best ghost type attacker in the game, non-Mega, and we don't have any Shadow options that are going to be better as of yet, so yeah, it's pretty much going to be Mega Gengar and Giratina in its origin form. Now, if you don't have Shadow Force on your Giratina, that is okay, Shadow Ball is still going to be pretty good. It's going to be about 2 points lower, which still ranks it like above everything else in terms of ghost type attackers. It's still going to be better than Chandelure, so yeah, you know, I wouldn't say it's anything to dismiss. Giratina Origin Form, even if you don't have Shadow Force, still going to be a worthy Pokemon to power up. And I forgot to mention this, but Giratina Origin Form is also one of the best Pokemon to use in the Open Master League, so yeah, dual functionality for another great Pokemon. So we talked about ghost types, which means dark types are up next, and then we'll talk about psychic types right after. When it comes down to dark type attackers, we have in the #1 spot, Mega Houndoom. So my boy Houndoom getting some love here still after all these years. Snarl and Foul Play is going to be the best moveset to have. Now when it comes down to Mega Houndoom, I'm not going to recommend powering up this Pokemon to level 50 for the simple reason that Mega Tyranitar is still not released into the game, and that is going to take the #1 spot when it does come out, which we just had, you know, Larvitar Calm Day Classic recently. It's probably going to happen relatively soon. Just on that note of Tyranitar, I do want to mention that Tyranitar in its non-Mega form at level 50 is still going to be one of the best dark type attackers to use in the game. So even though Mega Tyranitar isn't in the game yet, we just had a great event where we got resources for this Pokemon, and if you can get one to level 50, you can still take advantage of it now, regardless of that Mega not being here yet. With that being said though, our best non-Mega Pokemon for the dark type category, and also the best, you know, even above Shadow Pokemon, is going to be Hydreigon with Bite and the exclusive Calm Day moveset Brutal Swing. This Pokemon is a monster. For some perspective, a level 30 Hydreigon with Bite and Brutal Swing is going to be as good as a level 40 Shadow Honchkrow. Yep, you heard me right. It's that freaking good. So if you were able to get this Pokemon either during December Calm Day or the initial Calm Day last year, I mean, I seriously cannot recommend powering up this Pokemon enough. It's better than Shadow Tyranitar and Shadow Weavile. So you can save resources not powering up a Shadow and then, you know, still get amazing benefit. Yeah, all around Hydreigon, one of the best investments on this list for sure. So Psychic types is going to be the same as it always is. Mewtwo, level 50. That's my recommendation right there. There's literally nothing better. I mean, you have Mewtwo with 2 potential movesets. The signature moveset, Psystrike, which again, if you have a really good IV spread on your Mewtwo, I do recommend giving this one an Elite Charge TM. I mean, ideally the Hundo. Like, if you have the Hundo, then definitely make sure to do it if you don't have Psystrike. Psychic is going to be the next best moveset. This one's good. I mean, it's about like 3.5 points lower, so, you know, it does hurt Mewtwo a little bit where it could be better, but, you know, there's nothing else that even comes close to Mewtwo regardless with either of these movesets, so if you don't want to give it Psystrike, that's also okay. You don't have to give it the Elite Charge TM. Do it when you have some extra ones, but we also have the Mega Mewtwo coming out in the future, so getting this Pokemon to level 50 now, it's still going to benefit you quite a bit, and then we have the Mega Evolution just making it that much better. And did I mention, also another Pokemon that benefits from dual functionality in the Master League. The moveset for Master League is going to be a little bit different than the Raid moveset being Confusion and Psystrike. For the PvP moveset, you want to have Psycho Cut, Shadow Ball, and Psystrike. That's going to be the optimal moveset, ideally if you have a Hundo. Now keep in mind, if you do want to run it in PvP though, Shadow Ball is also going to be a legacy moveset, so you're going to have to use 2 potential Elite Charge TMs on this Pokemon, but in my opinion, if you have the Hundo, absolutely worth it. Next up on our list, let's talk about Bug-type Pokemon. So once again, another similar situation as the Electric-type category where the best Pokemon is actually not going to be the Mega Evolution. We don't actually have all the Mega Evolutions in-game just yet, so keep that in mind. You know, in the future, this will definitely change, but as of right now, the best Mega in the #2 spot for Bug-type attackers in the game is going to be Mega Scizor with Fury Cutter and X Scizor. Mega Beedrill is also like really close to Mega Scizor, so I mean we could include this as well, but you know, I would recommend just keeping your Poison type moveset for Mega Beedrill and then keep a Bug type moveset for Mega Scizor. We're also going to be getting Mega Pinsir in the future, which is a Pokemon I do anticipate to take the #1 spot, but as of right now, Mega Scizor is going to be your best Mega option. I could see how you would want to maybe power this thing up to level 50, but I would say probably level 30 would be the best recommendation, just considering power creeps. And then when it comes down to the best bug type attacker, even above Mega Scizor, it's going to be the Ultra Beast Pheromosa with Bug Bite and Bug Buzz. This Pokemon is awesome. I mean, even above the Megas guys at level 30, it's better than Mega Scizor and Mega Beedrill. And all your other bug type options are just nothing in comparison. Like a level 40 Genesect is not even as good as a level 30 Pheromosa. Yep. Once again, the Ultra Beasts honestly reign supreme. They really do. And if we ever get Shadow Ultra Beasts, gonna be complete game changer, but I don't anticipate that for like the next 5 to 7 years, honestly. The next category of Pokemon we're gonna be talking about had some pretty big changes this past year, so I'm definitely excited to go over this one as there's a lot of updates here. So that's going to be fighting type Pokemon, and the best Pokemon you can power up is also going to be Mega Blaziken. So Mega Blaziken is going to be one of the top fire type attackers and also one of the top fighting type attackers with Counter and Focus Blast. So let's say for example you have a Mega Charizard with Blast Burn and you have a Mega Blaziken but you don't have that exclusive moveset. You could run it as a fighting type Mega instead if you really wanted to and get just functionality that way. Or you could be like me, give it the secondary charge move, Blast Burn plus Focus Blast, and then just TM the fast move whenever you want to run it in whichever category you choose. Either way, the next best Pokemon you can power up in terms of non-Mega and also better than the Shadow forms now is going to be Terrakion with a Double Kick and Sacred Sword, Sacred Sword being a signature moveset for Terrakion. So we did have this recently in raids about 2 months ago in December, and if you were able to get a few of these with Sacred Sword, then you're basically swimming in gold. This Pokemon at level 30 is better than so many other options. It's better than a level 40 Shadow Hariyama, it's better than level 40 Lucario, it's better than level 40 Conkeldurr, Machamp. I mean seriously, it's one of the best Pokemon you guys can have in the game currently. And I'm just gonna add this in here as well. If you guys were one of the people that bought that Keldeo research, but maybe you just don't have Terrakion for some reason, Keldeo with Low Kick and Sacred Sword is also gonna be pretty good. It has the same stats as Terrakion, like the exact same stats. But for some reason, it doesn't have access to Double Kick, it has access to Low Kick, so if we ever get like Double Kick on Keldeo in the future, then it'll be just as good as Terrakion. Now here's the thing though, even though it's technically worse than Terrakion, it's still going to be better than Shadow Machamp. So when it comes down to powering up a Pokemon, you know, I would say save your Stardust, don't power up the Shadows anymore, and just focus on Terrakion and I guess Keldeo if you have it, if you just want something different. Before we move on to the next category though, I do want to highlight one Pokemon that is going to be an anticipated Mega Evolution in the future, and that is going to be Mega Lucario. The ideal moveset being Counter and Aura Sphere. No legacy movesets here, you guys can get this moveset as of right now. And it's another Pokemon that honestly, in my opinion, if you get to level 50 now, you could really utilize this Pokemon well. To put this into perspective, a level 50 non-Mega Lucario is going to be just as good, actually slightly worse, than a level 35 Terrakion with Double Kick and Sacred Sword, which, you know, it seems worse by comparison, right? But that's actually really good because Terrakion ranks really high in the meta now. So again, another Pokemon I'd recommend if you want to now, get it to level 50, and then you'll have that Mega Evolution in the future as well. So we're going to talk about this category for like 10 seconds. Normal type Pokemon. No normal type Pokemon is worth investing in terms of raid/gym attackers. There are normal type Pokemon that are worth investing on the gym defender side, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. Now let's go to take a look at rock type Pokemon. So Mega Aerodactyl, as of right now, is going to be the best option that you can have in the game with Rock Throw and Rock Slide. Once again though, Tyranitar is going to dethrone this Pokemon in the future, so if you were able to get a Hundo or a really good IV spread with Smackdown, which is a legacy moveset, plus Stone Edge, then you're going to be set for the future. Once again, I definitely recommend powering up this bad boy to level 50 if you have the resources. It's going to be as good as a level 40 Rampardos, which, considering that it has a Mega Evolution in the future, dual functionality once again, you love to see it. Speaking of Rampardos though, this is actually a Pokemon I was going to go over right now, because at level 30, with Smackdown and Rock Slide, it is one of the best rock type attackers in the game. Rhyperior is going to be slightly better, so I included both of them just because they're so close on the scale here, but for Rhyperior, you're going to want to have Smackdown plus the exclusive Comday moveset, Rock Wrecker. Now, you can run Rhyperior in the Master League. I've seen plenty of people do it. I don't personally recommend it, but you definitely can. Rampardos, you definitely can. It's more of a glass cannon, so you're going to be getting some better TDO with Rhyperior, but you're going to get better DPS with Rampardos. That's pretty much how that works, so, you know, regardless how you view your raid battles, whether you want to beat the raid boss super quickly or if you want to just make sure that your Pokemon lasts in there long enough and still does a lot of damage. Either of these options are going to be great recommendations, and of course Tyranitar as well. For the future with that Mega Evolution, at least just getting 1 to level 50 would be a really solid investment. You know what's really close to Rock-type Pokemon? Ground-type Pokemon. So when it comes down to the Ground-type attackers, we have Primal Groudon, which is going to take the #1 spot, but it hasn't been released yet. And this takes the #1 spot with Mudshot and Earthquake, not even considering that it's going to get its signature move Precipice Blades. I think that's how you say it. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, either way, Primal Groudon is going to be the #1 ground-type attacker when it eventually gets released with that signature move set in the next few weeks, similar to Primal Kyogre. As of right now, though, Mega Swampert is going to be the #1 Mega option with Mudshot and Earthquake. Once again, you can run Swampert in the Master League as well. Mudshot, Earthquake, and Hydro Cannon is going to be the optimal moveset there. Outside of Megas though, Garchomp is going to be your best option with Mudshot and Earth Power. Garchomp also has a future Mega Evolution that will get released into the game, so a Pokemon, if you have the Hundo, strongly recommend powering that thing up to level 50. I personally have one at level 50 and I can't wait for that Mega Evolution. It does have dual functionality as a Dragon-type attacker too, which we will talk about later on. So yeah, Garchomp all around Cynthia's favorite, for a good reason. And I feel like I should touch on this a little bit more. Groudon in its non-primal form is still going to be one of the best ground-type attackers in the game, not to mention it gets dual functionality in the Master League as well, with Mudshot, Earthquake, and Fire Punch. Fire Punch is going to require an Elite Charge TM though, so keep that in mind. I'd only recommend doing that if you end up getting the Hundo. So this category is a little bit weird as of right now because the Shadow options are better than pretty much everything else, and even like the Mega options aren't as good as some of the non-Mega options. So let's just start off with the Mega options first and then I'll go from there. The best Mega option you can have, purely just to like support your raid party, is going to be Mega Glalie with Frost Breath and Avalanche. We're not going to get a better Mega Ice-type attacker in the game, so this is pretty much it. If you want to have that Mega option, Mega Glalie is going to be the move to go with. But if you don't want to do that, that's also just as fine, because Galarian Darmanitan and Mamoswine are both going to be really good options in terms of the non-Mega just by themselves. So Galarian Darmanitan actually does get an additional form in the future. I'm not sure how that's going to work in Pokemon Go, so actually I kind of take that back about Mega Glalie. We will eventually get that one replaced, so maybe don't power that thing up to level 50, but like level 30 should be fine for the time being. And Galarian Darmanitan, again, like it has a future form coming out, which is going to make it significantly better as an Ice-type attacker. Excellent investment, even for the future. And Mamoswine is a Pokemon that also gets benefit from the Master League, so just another one of those dual functionality Pokemon. And you ideally want to run it with Powder Snow and Avalanche. You could also run it as a ground-type attacker, although, you know, I think it is more effectiveness for you as an Ice-type attacker if you don't have the Shadow variants. But yeah, at the end of the day, those are my top 2 picks right there. So the Ice-type category is a little bit weird. The Steel-type category is a bit more straightforward as it has been for the past few years. Basically, the only recommendation here is going to be Metagross with Bullet Punch and the exclusive Comday moveset, Meteor Mash. Nothing else comes close, guys. I'm not even going to compare anything else. Like, even the Megas, I mean, you could have the Megas if you want to. Mega Aggron's going to be, you know, your best Mega option you can run in the raid battles, but it's so much worse. Like, a level 30 Metagross is better than a level 40 Mega Aggron. So if you have the Metagross, hopefully you do have Meteor Mash on them. Flash Cannon is just not nearly as good as it should be for Metagross. And I feel like if you don't have that, then I guess you could run Dialga with Metal Claw and Iron Head, like, if you really needed a different option. But really, at the end of the day, guys, Metagross should be your #1 pick. And given that we have the Hoenn Tour coming up, you'll probably have an opportunity to evolve your Beldum into Metagross to get Meteor Mash without having to use any Elite Charge TM. So Steel types out of the way, let's talk about Fairy types next. And we're going to have 2 top picks here. And the first one is going to be Togekiss with Charm and Dazzling Gleam. So Togekiss is the best Fairy-type attacker in the game, not including Shadow Pokemon. And the next best option is going to be Gardevoir with the same moveset, Charm and Dazzling Gleam. Now the difference between the two, and I would say that both of these actually have significant benefits. Gardevoir is going to benefit from a future Mega Evolution, so it's going to be significantly better and a good recommendation to power it up to 50 right now, just to, you know, get more benefit out of it. But Togekiss also has functionality in the Master League. So when it comes down to Togekiss, you get dual functionality because you get it as a raid attacker and then also as a Master League option. And then Gardevoir, you get it as a raid attacker now, and then also as a future Mega Evolution. So both of them, really strong candidates. Now I do want you guys to keep in mind that if you end up getting Shadow Gardevoir as well, this is also one of the best options to use. Like, a level 30 Shadow Gardevoir is going to be just as good, actually it's going to be better than a level 40 Togekiss. So if you want to build like one Togekiss level 50, one Gardevoir level 50, like your best IVs possible, and then, you know, use the rest of them for Shadow Gardevoir, that's probably what I would do, just given the cost and then benefit analysis. Now finally, we've come down to the end of our list. The biggest category by far is going to be Dragon-type Pokemon. Now the reason that this category tends to be larger each year is just due to the fact that Dragon-type, or, you know, we could even call a lot of them pseudo-legendary Pokemon, are just so good. Like, we have legendary Dragon options, we have pseudo-legendary options, and you know, when it comes down to Master League, when it comes down to being a raid/gym attacker, even dual functionality between typings, these Pokemon are just so freaking good. So let's start this off with Mega Salamence with Dragon Tail and the exclusive Comde moveset Outrage. Now keep in mind, this is currently the best Mega option as of right now, but Mega Rayquaza hasn't been released in the game yet. When that gets released, that will no doubtably take the #1 spot by force. And then speaking of Rayquaza, even in its non-mega form, this Pokemon is a monster. With Dragon Tail and Outrage, it is the best Dragon-type attacker in the game, non-shadow, non-mega. So again, if you want to power this bad boy up to level 50, if you have that hundo, I do highly recommend it. You're going to get a ton of use out of it right now, and even more when that mega comes out. And then just to touch on Salamence again, I do want to kind of highlight that as well. If you power up a Salamence to level 50, that is going to be one of the best Dragon-type attackers in the game. Like, if we compare it to Shadow Salamence, it's going to be just as good as a level 35 Shadow Salamence. So you get the option as a Mega, and you could also use it as a non-Mega. Following that, we did touch on this a little bit earlier, Garchomp is going to be one of the best Pokemon to power up, not just as a Ground-type attacker with, you know, Earth Power, but also as a Dragon-type attacker with Dragon Tail and Outrage. Another Pokemon that is going to benefit from a future Mega Evolution, and again, like, it benefits in the Master League too, so you're actually gonna get like triple functionality there, because you get Master League, Mega, and then also it's still really good as a non-Mega. Yeah, this thing all around, highly recommend getting it to level 40, or sorry, level 50 I should say, not level 40, level 50 for this bad boy. Now we have 5 more options to go over, and I know what you're thinking, like, wow, like we have this many options in the Dragon-type category? Yeah, we do. So the next one is going to be Palkia with Dragon Tail and Draco Meteor, no exclusive movesets here, and this is going to be one of the best Pokemon to power up, once again, to level 50 because of its dual functionality as a Master League option. Aqua Tail is going to be the other moveset you want to have on Palkia to make it optimal for that league. But again, at the end of the day, really good Dragon-type attacker in the raid/gym meta, and then also dual functionality in the Master League. I'd only recommend maxing these things out, guys, to level 50 if you have the hundos though. Like, having the hundo or like a functional 98 is critically important. Anyways though, next up we have Zekrom, which is going to be another great investment. Once again, a fantastic Electric-type attacker, but also a really good Dragon-type attacker too. So, you know, a lot of these Pokemon, they're dual typings, and, you know, they really are the best of both worlds. For Zekrom as a Dragon-type attacker, you want to have Dragon Breath and Outrage, and once again, Zekrom benefits as a Master League attacker, as we talked about earlier. The next Pokemon we're going to talk about is one that I have excluded on previous year's list, but given its recent updates in the meta, guys, I could not exclude this Pokemon this year. And that Pokemon is going to be Dragonite with Dragon Tail and Outrage for the raid/gym meta, one of the best Dragon-type attackers you guys can use. Not that much worse than any of the other options that I've mentioned so far either. Maybe like a 1.5 or 2 points lower, but you can also use it as a Master League attacker, which I believe it ranks as like #1 or #2 in the Master League right now, with Dragon Breath, Superpower, and Dragon Claw. Superpower was recently added to Dragonite's moveset earlier last year, and that just changed the game completely. Like, Dragonite became one of the best Pokemon to use in every single league. Great League, Ultra League, and Master League. I know Dragonite is definitely a fan favorite, so I'm happy that I could include this Pokemon on this list and also be like a really good viable option too. Like, I'm not just including this just because you guys want me to, it's really just that good now. So yeah, Dragonite, whether you want to run it as a raid attacker or a PvP Master League option, you can choose whichever one, but you're gonna have to have different movesets. Thankfully, none of them are exclusive Comde movesets, so you're kind of good there. The exclusive Comde moveset was Draco Meteor, but you really don't want to run that for PvP or for the raid/gym meta. 2 more Pokemon left on this list. We have Dialga next. So Dialga with Dragon Breath and Draco Meteor is going to be the optimal moveset for the Raid/Gym meta if you want to run it for the Master League, which I do recommend if you have the hundo. This Pokemon, you need the hundo. Like, there is no functional 98, you need the hundo for Dialga. And you want to pair that with Iron Head as well for that secondary charge move. Once again, a pretty optimal dragon type attacker if you do power this thing up to level 50. And then finally, our last Pokemon is one that we already talked about during this video, but just to kind of come full circle, it's going to be Reshiram with Dragon Breath and Draco Meteor. If you want to run it in PvP Master League, you ideally just want to have that paired with Fusion Flare, and you should be good to go. So I personally think those are the best investments you can make in this game. Of course, power creeps are going to happen, but you know, anything you get dual functionality out of, like especially when it comes down to Master League, that's not going to change that much. Like, it will change in the future. Meta changes are inevitable, but you know, knowing that you're going to at least have a viable option to use in that meta as well, in addition to having a really good Raid/Gym attacker, I don't know, that just really sells me on it personally. With that being said, that's basically everything I have for you guys in this video. If you have any recommendations for videos like this you want me to do in the future, let me know in that comment section down below. And if you're still looking for some more content, I'm going to recommend these two videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.